I quite enjoy playing Fallout 4. It is by no means the best game I've ever played, but it's still very fun. I also quite enjoy watching RWBY. It's not exactly great, but I still like it. Mainly because there's a mod for Fallout 4 that adds a few weapons from RWBY. So today, I'll be asking the question, can you beat Fallout 4 as Xiao Long? Now, for anyone who hasn't seen one of these challenge videos before, or just wants specifics, let me explain. I need to create my character to be as close to Yang as possible, as well as handling situations the way she would. For armor and weapons, I will only be using my fists and Ember Silica and wearing the Drifter outfit. Now, I did use more than just a base mod for this playthrough, but they were only small things. Things like fast-traveling while indoors, adding a Yakuza radio station, and my personal favorite, John Cena! Not like I ever heard that last one, mind you. With all that out of the way, let the run begin. Character creation has me making my closest approximation of a male version of Yang because I have a fiery passion. No, I'm not gonna tell you what that means. I'm not sure whose wrath I incurred on the special screen. Probably Monty's. Despite my gothic physique, I did not name myself Ernest Kalimov. That's my casual playthrough. No, I named myself Yang. If this was New Vegas, my special would probably look something like this. But in Fallout 4, you have significantly less special points to play with during character creation, so I had to give myself this. With my character created, I ran to the vault and did my best impression of a popsicle. I grabbed the wedding ring off of Nora's frozen corpse and exited the vault. I grabbed Crescent Rose for caps and ignored Codsworth, using the year special book to increase my intelligence. I ran right past Concord, not even giving Preston the time of day. I could definitely take care of the raiders with only my fists, but I didn't exactly fancy my chances of taking on a Deathclaw, especially without power armor. While I run to Cambridge, here's a fun fact. The engine that Fallout 4 runs on is technically the same one that Morrowind runs on, just upgraded throughout the years. Anyway, I helped out Buzz Lightyear by giving him moral support, and then used the perk point I got from finishing fire support to become a hackerman. Inside ArcJet, Dance did all of the work. For the moment, I'm stuck being that guy that does none of the work but still expects his name on the group project. Dance gave me caps in the form of a laser rifle, and I was off to Diamond City. Normally I would just head straight to Park Street Station so I could rescue Nick and skip the back and forth between Piper and McDonough, but A, my weapon is actually in Diamond City, and B, the Drifter outfit isn't exactly going to be doing a whole lot against a grand total of maybe 90,000 submachine guns and 10mm pistols. Entering Diamond City, and the first thing I do is Piper's interview, which gets me some very easy experience, but mainly allows me to grab Ember Silica. There's also an alternate version of the same locker called the Kill Fist. I tested the mod before the challenge, and it's supposed to insta-kill, hence the name, but I never got that to work in this save. Which is completely fine, I wasn't going to use it anyway, it's just confusing. I could, by all means, save Mick now, but I have a better idea.
Blakey, we need to cook.
I watched Paul get ragdolled and then did to Henry what Yang did to Junior in the Yellow trailer. This gave me free rein to steal all of the alcohol and other miscellaneous items of interest from the Colonial Tap House. And from there, I ambushed the Chem Deal, stealing all 60 Psycho, Mentats, Jet, and Buff Out for myself. Now I was ready to save Nick. Except not really, because Nick tends to bug out for me if I don't talk to Ellie, and I've already done Piper's interview. So now I could rescue Nick. Park Street Station really showcases how much of a glass cannon this challenge makes me. The Triggerman can annihilate me if I go in all gung-ho, but I can take them out in just a few punches. I dealt with Dino with ruthless efficiency and grabbed the bobblehead behind Inspector Gadget before escorting said detective out of the vault. I took care of Skinny Malone's cronies and vats and stunlocked the man himself. I told Nick to piss off to Diamond City and went to find the Old North Church, because I would be siding with the Thomas the Tank Engine fan club. Now, an argument could be made to side with the Minutemen, but Ernest Kalimov just beat the game with them, and I really didn't want to hear Presto McGravy bitch about settlements getting attacked from the other side of the Commonwealth. And I've also never done it before. Yeah, in probably the 12 or so times I've played Fallout 4, I've never worked with the railroad all the way through. I also fought a legendary feral ghoul Reaver on the way in, so that's fun. My first mission was to reclaim the switchboard with Deacon. I know from past experience that trying to go through the front is a waste of time, so he went in the... On the inside, Deacon seemed more interested in jacking off in the corner than helping me take care of the synth. I retrieved Carrington's prototype and reported my success to the Harriet Tubman. Completing Tradecraft leveled me up so I could take the second rank of the Iron Fist perk, and I stole everything that wasn't nailed down. I killed some raiders on a bridge and discovered the bad TFL regional office before spending nearly 10 goddamn minutes helping High Rise with a runaway synth. Now, I was originally intending to use a suit with ballistic weave because, well, I mean, have you ever seen Yang in a suit? But I only ever used one suit for about 3 minutes before deciding, you know what? I want to struggle more. Which is basically just a really long-winded way of saying all the time I spent doing Jackpot was a waste. I fast-traveled back to the Red Rocket so I could see what kinds of mods I could put on Ember Silica. All of them required me to be at least the most basic blacksmith, so that's what I would be putting my next level up into. I killed Finn upon entering Good Neighbor and checked in with Dr. Sun, who had nothing of value. I talked with Nick about the son I don't care about, and for some reason kept getting told I had bad Wi-Fi. This happened for the next 3 hours, and I have no clue why. I convinced McDonough to give me the key to Kellogg's house, which I then used to steal 2 Nuka-Cola Quantums, among other things. After giving the best boy in the Commonwealth a good long sniff of an old cigar, I fast-traveled back to ArcJet and went southwest in complete darkness. I found a bed which I used to sleep until day, so I could tell dog Metallica to go back to the Red Rocket. Yep, Fort Hagen reminded me that my non-existent perception was a bad idea. See, my Drifter outfit provides minimal defense against energy damage, and you need 7 points in perception to get the Refractor perk, which gives you bonus energy resistance. If this was New Vegas, I could have just downed an atomic cocktail and laughed at any and all lasers thrown at me, but I don't have that luxury. I am making a lot of comparisons to New Vegas. Well, that's not important, as I, let's say, activated my semblance against Mr. Bound's breakfast, not even giving him the time to open his mouth and blast his ass. After rooting around through the empty cereal box, I watched the Brotherhood of Steel arrive and talked to Nick Cage, who told me to go to Good Neighbor. The most I've ever done to help the railroad is doing tradecraft to get the Deliverer, so I never knew Dr. Amari had unique dialogue if you were with them. Neat. Exploring Kellogg's frosted memories allowed me to figure out that there was a storm approaching in the glowing sea. I traveled through Fallout 3 land and was told that I needed to kill a courser, and that I should start my search for one at the CIT ruins. I skipped the first part of the quest and headed straight for Green Tech Genetics. On the way to the courser, I slipped on an ice cube and my soul fled my body. A little later up the building, and I'm reminded that I still have 0 in the way of energy resistance. When I finally do make it to the courser, I deal with him the same way I did Kellogg. He was able to activate a Stealth Boy, but thanks to Ember Silica for some reason doing roughly -2 points of fire damage, I still knew where he was. I freed the synth that the courser was after, and returned to my favorite group of Harriet Tubman enthusiasts to have the courser crisp decoded. Oh, how I longed for the ability to just kill them all and decode it myself, but alas, that's not an option. This wasn't even the only time I contemplated doing it either. I brought the data back to Virgil, who gave me the schematics I needed to get into the Institute. I then gave said schematics to Tinkerbell, who told me to take away the bread, cheese, lettuce, tomatoes, and mayonnaise, which left us with a fax machine. When I built the generators, I was surprised that all I was missing was a single piece of ceramic. I didn't think I did a good job scavenging, but I guess I did good enough. Inside the Institute, I go against my instincts and do not kill Father the second he steps through the door, as doing so would have locked me out of the Railroad's quest line, which we obviously cannot have. I met up with a kid who was stuck in a closet and gave him the motivation he needed to come out to his parents before retrieving the serum for Virgil. I met up with Jotaro Kujo and left the Institute to give Virgil the serum I got in the last sentence. Now, we needed a Pornhub premium account to get into the Institute's secret stash of RWBY hentai. The character, not the show. This quest annoyed the living shit out of me, and was the other time I considered massacring the railroad. I somehow managed to miss where you're supposed to go despite looking right at it, and then had to look up a guide. When I finally did figure out where to go, I got through in 40 seconds. Since I've done all the railroad quests I can for the moment, I reported to Father, who told me to retrieve a rogue synth from SeaWorld. Said synth did not want to listen to reason, so X6 had to save my ass. After reporting my success to Father, he told me about a railroad operation that they never thought to brief me on. Jackasses. The Institute was now down to 1 more courser and 4 more synths. Despite the fact that Father was very obviously annoyed with me, on account of the whole I freed 4 synths thing, he didn't seem to care a whole lot in the long run. At the next meeting, I was given the best news of the entire playthrough. My son is dying! I wanted to kill McDonough to celebrate, but because Bethesda hates fun, that's not an option. I notified some synths that their free trial of life had ended, and they decided that they did not want to pay to extend their membership. I had the absolute worst time trying to get through Mass Fusion, which is to be expected. I'm wearing one of the first sets of armor you come across against multiple Brotherhood Knights in T60B power armor. Said knights must have all had Taco Bell last night, as they would just not stop shitting out nukes. Normally, to get to the Beryllium Agitator, you need to take a really slow elevator ride like it's a Metal Gear Solid game, but I have a better idea. Yeah, you can just jump into the Good Neighbor loading zone from the top of Mass Fusion. It's a hell of a lot faster, and surprisingly safer than taking the elevator. This is when I regretted telling that Institute scientist that she was a liability. Now, I would have to take down a sentry bot and 2 Assaultrons by myself. But, as it turns out, I was worried for nothing, as they all go down surprisingly fast. After telling some little shit to come to the Institute, I gave a speech to the people of the Commonwealth. Father gave me the honor of plugging in the agitator, which ensured that I could keep the doors closed and stop Frederick Fazbarrington and his cohorts from entering the office. I spearheaded the next meeting in Father's stead. He's a little occupied with the whole dying thing at the moment. I had an awful time trying to get through Ticonderoga, and was a bit kerfuffled on how to proceed. I didn't have all that much time to be, however, as a bunch of Brotherhood members decided that they all wanted into our secret Thomas fan club. Something tells me the Brotherhood took Taco Bell off the menu, as it seemed like none of the knights were shitting out weapons of mass destruction. I killed an alien because I thought it'd be funny before meeting up with Tinker, Tom, and Deacon and assaulting the police station. Before hopping on the vertibird and flying up to the Fridwin, I had one more thing I needed to do. I swam through a literal sea of radiation to get to the Museum of Witchcraft. I should point out that I never used companions for this playthrough, and yet Deacon was acting like he was one. Deacon also apparently hates when a lost child is returned to their family. Dude, I get having unresolved trauma, but what the hell is wrong with you? Yeah, it's a death claw. So what? Back at the police station, a vertibird rose from the ground like Jesus on the 3rd day. Because of arbitrary challenge reasons, I was unable to wear the Brotherhood disguise, so I had to rush through and plant the bombs as fast as possible. I was shredded by Elder Maxon multiple times. I had to take some medics and like 8 stim packs just to survive. It was a miracle our vertibird wasn't a block of Swiss cheese when we watched the Fridwin crash onto the airport. Jotaro teleported my crew in, and it was time to lay waste. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This was a complete massacre. Sure, I may not have all that much armor, but that's better than the nothing most of my enemies had. I should also mention that at some point I added spikes to Ember Silica, like a while ago, so even if they had armor it wouldn't really matter. Through a mix of said spikes, my semblance, and copious amounts of stim packs, even the toughest of the Institute's forces fell before me. Even the legendary synths were no trouble. I spoke with Sean one last time before issuing the evacuation order. I slapped the bomb onto the reactor before telling my not-son that he can come with us, which gave Thomas the go-ahead to instant transmission us to the top of Mass Fusion. I punched the detonator button, blowing my load all over the Institute, which beat the game, and answered the titular question with a yes, you can beat Fallout 4 as Yang Xiao. Other than the obscene damage I was taking at times, as well as fuck. This was a really fun run. While I was watching the ending slides, and the challenge was by all means over, I wasn't yet satisfied. So, after the slides ended, I spoke with Desdemona and fast-traveled to Boston Common to see an old friend. I was able to stunlock Swan to the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and with the ease I dispatched him, I still wasn't satisfied, so I fast-traveled to Virgil's Cave to see another old friend. I took out the Deathclaw with a critical, so I fast-traveled to Concord to see another old friend. I killed the raiders that Presto still hadn't dealt with, killed the Deathclaw, and sent the Minutemen to Sanctuary. With that, my bloodlust was finally satiated, and I could rest. If you enjoyed, make sure to like the video and subscribe the video, and comment with any suggestions for future challenges. This has been Eternal Suffering, and remember, shine on, you crazy diamonds.